Uh, Hi guys, welcome to my stream of day 6 of my participation in the 100 Days of Code challenge. Just to remind you what I'm working on, I'm working on a text transformer app. First day I already created a spec, so this app will consist of 3 parts, 3 panels: the input panel, transforms panel, and output panel. In the input panel, user will be able to enter any text he wants to, for example, encrypt. Then in the transforms panel, they will select what they actually want to do with this text. For example, here I'm showing AES encryption, so they might want to encrypt the text. And there might be also any number of transforms here. And then there will be an output panel which will show the result of this. So I have already set up React app, which we have here. I set up a unit testing framework. I'm using Cypress for that. And today my plan is to set up to actually continue with the design and also to set up Redux. Let me show you first the output. Here with yarn start we can start it. To learn more what happened in the previous days, you can refer to the previous videos. And also yarn cypress open. This is the testing framework. Okay, and also now I have a Trello board where I listed all the points of the spec, which are also here. So now I'm going to work on transforms panel and on output panel also, and I want to stop Redux today. I was checking documentation of the material UI, which I'm using for the UI, and their styling system, which uses CSS-in-JS, and I decided to give it a try. Actually, you probably don't have to use this. You can use normal CSS, but they think that that's a good idea to use CSS-in-JS. So that's what I'm going to give a try to. Okay, here you see this is Cypress. I have just 2 tests currently. This is the app itself. Just the first panel is ready. The design of this panel at least. The input panel, then we'll have transforms and output. Okay, I think somewhere here we should enter input. There should be a title somewhere. I think I missed this. Okay, so this is the Cypress. Cypress just loads and makes sure that all the panels are there, and that we have a dropdown. That's it. So now before starting working on other panels, on the transforms panel and output panel, I would like to move this code related to the drop-down creation to some other component. I probably can have a separate component for the encoding drop-down. So that's why I think we can create a new component, encoding drop-down. Still, I'm going to create it manually this time, but in the next video I'll show you how to use code snippets for that, how to create your own code snippets in VS Code and how to use them. But currently, since I'm still not using Redux, I think it's too early to create snippets. Okay, how do I call it? Encoding selection dropdown. Okay. Oh no, we'll use camel case here. Encoding dropdown component tsx. Okay, tsx because I'm using TypeScript. If you're using JavaScript, then it will be JSX here. So first of all, it starts of course with const react. No, what I'm doing. Import react from react. Okay. And now we create a functional component. I will be using exclusively functional components here to follow functional programming principles. Encoding dropdown component. I'm still new to functional programming, so I'm learning to apply all these principles correctly. We will say that this is FC, which is short for functional component. And then it should return, of course, something. And what it will return, we have here already. I think all this is here. Let's move it from here to here. Somehow it doesn't want to recompile. Yeah, classes is not here. We'll still move it here. So all this CSS-in-JS basically requires calling you either make styles or with styles to then create a classes object. For example, you see here we create a margin object. So for this margin, a class will be created. For this margin theme spacing, actually theme spacing will create a default spacing of 8 pixels. Theme spacing 1 is the default spacing of 8 pixels. Theme spacing 2 will be 16 pixels. Okay, so for this margin, a class will be created, which we can then provide to our element to style it. What's specified here? Basically, it means give margin 8 pixels to this element. Okay. So now that we created it, we gotta export it. Export encoding dropdown component. So this will be an encoding dropdown, which we will use in several elements. First of all, we already have in this input panel our encoding dropdown component. Okay, let me try to look how it changed. It didn't change. Actually, it shouldn't have changed. So everything should have stayed the same. Another thing, I added some CSS in the last video. I added some CSS here. In main screen component, I added some CSS for dropdown also, which we probably shouldn't have here because now we will want to use CSS-in-JS. So let's remove it from here, and this max width, where was it? Encoding dropdown component. I'll just close everything else. So we need to add it somewhere here, but where exactly? It was under TRS dropdown, so it was applied to this element, to the native select element. Now we want to apply it again, but instead we want to use instead of this, we'll want to use classes I don't know, TRS dropdown. No, it won't work. Yeah, I think we can call it encoding dropdown. Encoding dropdown. We can add this here instead of this CSS. Classes encoding dropdown, right? So will it work? Yeah, it worked. So this is their idea of CSS in JS. Actually, it's much more complex than that because we also have theme, which we can provide. I will show you how they do it in the README. Theme where was this? I think here in advanced. They're showing how we provide theme. Here, you can provide some additional data for theme. You provide theme object, then you wrap all your components inside the theme provider. Okay, and then inside each component you can use theme, very functional like, to get the theme applicable to this component, right? So that's what they're saying you should do. So normally we would want to do this if we this is for the case if we want some global styling covering multiple components, because this styling, as you can see, will apply only to this drop down, but we might want instead to apply it to multiple components, right? So for this we would need themes, and themes we should add here. That's what they're telling us, right? Theme provider, I'm not sure. So let us do here theme provider. So here we have this theme provider, which wraps all the components and where we will provide our theme. Yeah, I hope nothing broke. Yeah, I wasn't right. Everything broke. Everything just broke. Yeah, I think I know why this happened actually. Cannot reach gravity for each of undefined. Theme shadows, yeah, because we are providing just normal objects, and theme, as much as I understand, is actually some pretty complex object which we should instead create with this thing. Create MUI theme. Core styles. Okay. No, I don't have it here. So instead of doing just that, we probably wanted to do a create theme. But here we need to provide some theme options. What are these theme options? I am not sure. We would need to research more into that. To those theme options. You see, palette status, so you basically provide it whatever you want. I don't think this is going to work somehow, because I'm not sure how this is supposed to work. Yeah, you see, it's saying that this status property is not there. We probably want to change the prototype. I mean, not prototype, but typing, because otherwise TypeScript isn't gonna let me do this. I think this is this part which I should be adding. Where are these theme options, by the way? I'm not sure where is it coming from. Yeah, it's inside CRIME theme. Okay, so now we actually changed theme interface to add status object, and we changed theme options interface to add a also status object. So since it's taken theme options, now it knows about status. So that's how we can extend the theme object. I don't think we kinda need it now though, but maybe later we will make use of this theme thing. So let us now continue with our work. When the page loads, the user should see the transforms panel containing one empty transform element below and a plus button to the right of it. Yes, this is related to the transform component, which should also contain transform elements, like this one you see, AES, transform component. Apart from this one, we will also have an empty transform component, which will just have first drop down with value none. Depending on what we select in the first drop down, this component might change. So basically what we want here is a transform panel with just this AES component. Not AES, just with an empty component instead of AES. Okay, we could actually write a test about this to make this proper test driven stuff. Yeah, this is not usually a good idea to make lines, so actually I think I will make code bigger. Yeah, because last time it was bigger. Then I actually made it smaller when I was working, but I think for the stream we need code to be bigger. Okay, when the page loads, the user should see the transforms panel containing one empty transform element. Okay, see why get TRS transforms panel. So this will be CSS selecting our transforms panel, which is this one. Okay, and inside of it there should be TRS element. We will call it transforms element. Some transforms element should be there. And not sure how we're going to check that. Yeah, this one is already failing, we can see. Where is, yes, this thing. So this transform element. I wonder how can I check the text inside the dropdown. I want the test to check the text inside the dropdown. So where is that text? How can I see it? That's what I wanted to check. How do I know that this one is selected, for example? How do I know that this one is selected and not this one? There is some shouldn't it show me this element here? I think it might be somewhere in these HTML properties. No, I don't see it here. Okay, if I delete this one, will it be removed? No. No, so it's not contained inside this one, definitely. Here. This option, okay, right. So if I delete this one, then it will definitely be deleted, right? So there should be some CSS which shows this one but hides the other ones. Somehow I don't see any specific CSS doing this. Okay, anyway. This is not so important, I think. We can just leave it at that for now. And then later we can make changes as needed. Transforms element, and also this transforms element will contain some drop down. Transforms element, and drop down will be called like transform selection drop down. TRS transform selection drop down. I'm not sure if these big, or maybe I should make code even bigger. Okay, transform selection drop down. And this one should be visible. Be visible. Transform selection drop down, and how to check CSS selector to select elements with particular property value. CSS selector to select with particular property value. Okay, CSS attribute selector is called. What is this? Okay, attribute equals value. Yeah, that's what I thought actually, but I had to make sure. So value equals a what? None. Let's say it will be none. So the point of this CSS selector, the second CSS selector, is to find TRS transforms element which contains a transform selection dropdown with value none. This means that in this spec we have here several transforms. This first, several dropdowns. This first dropdown is this dropdown we select here, the transform selection dropdown. And its value should be none. Basically, we want an empty transform. Okay, should be visible. Now let's look. I think if we can get it a little. Now let's check our test. Yeah, this is our new test, which is failing now. So now we have to write code to make it pass. Let us check. So we need to create a new component, which we'll call TransformsPanel. And just like we moved code for TransformsPanel into a different component, same way we will move code for Same way we will move code for everything for transforms panel from app.tsx to here. Oh no, it's not in app.csx. Now it's in main screen. Main screen component. We will move the code from main screen component to here. We are just scaffolding our usual component, TransformsPanelComponent. Yeah, card we will also need probably. To here. Now we want to use here TransformsPanelComponent instead. Let's export it. Export TransformsPanelComponent and use it here. So when I do this, and when I have a hint to select this transforms panel component, autocomplete it actually gets it automatically from this path. Though if your ID doesn't do this auto substitution, then you would need to import it yourself. Okay, what's it saying? JS is not constructor. Okay. That's because we are not properly returning what we should. And also we should define it as a functional component in TypeScript. Okay, so transforms panel component. And let us immediately create a snippet for that. I have actually some snippets, TypeScript snippet for React, but let's delete it now. Delete it now and show you how you actually create those snippets. So you go to File, Preferences, User Snippets, and then here you select your language. It can be JavaScript if you're using JavaScript, or TypeScript for TypeScript. It will also have a separate file for TypeScript React to be used just for React, which I did. So in here we create this React functional component snippet. Okay, so this React functional component snippet, it should have several values. If you click Ctrl plus space, you will see necessary fields here. So description actually is an optional field. We only need prefix, which is prefix shows which elements when typed will be used as a trigger for this snippet. For example, we can use RFC, React functional component, to trigger these snippets. Okay, you can use actually several snippets if you wish, and just say we're using one. Then body. This one should contain either one line or it can contain multiple lines, one after another. So if you want to get it from here to there, then you need to paste each line like this here, and then next line, which is pretty tedious. You might agree, right? So instead we are going to use a regular expression for this. So to turn on the regular expressions, click this button. You see here, this small button. It's probably called something else than a button. It's like a checkbox. Use regular expression. Okay. So first thing, first thing we want is to make these double quotes. We will want to escape them, because here we have each line in quotes, so in double quotes, so all double quotes here must be escaped. So let's do it even without regular expression. It's possible. Just do this. Everything will be escaped, right? Everything is escaped now. Now we want to add double quotes before and after every line, right? This is actually also rather easy with regular expressions. So this symbol means start of the line, right? These two symbols mean anything. Okay. In JavaScript, by default, it matches until end of line. But we can also, if wish, well, we could also add a n, so that it's end of line symbol. Okay. \n. And now we replace it with the thing. Means contents of capture group 1. Capture group is the thing which is inside these round brackets. This is called a capture group. Since we have only one capture group, this is capture group 1. If we had another capture group, then this capture group would have been capture group 2. Okay, have just one capture group which contains everything between start line and end line, right? So now we replace every line with this double quote, all the contents of the line, another double quote. But somehow this doesn't select. Okay, since this one doesn't have end of line, since there wasn't end of line symbol here, this one wasn't selected. But actually, I think the result will be pretty much the same, even if we do just that. Yeah, let's try that. And so let us do that. You see what we got? We got, no, not exactly this. I use Ctrl plus that. We also need a comma, right? Because here we'll have an array. So after every line, we will also need a comma, right? So here, now we have it. That's what you do to create a snippet in VS Code. Okay. Now let's remove all this stuff. React FC, of course. So also we would want this transforms panel. We probably don't want in our new React component. So for this we use, I think it's like this, component name. This is for the user to substitute when using the snippet. Let's try to use it now. Now let's create another folder for output panel, right? And output panel tsx. Then we have here RFC. You see, our component is here. Now we just click tab. Somehow this is not what I expected to happen. I think the syntax is a little different. I think the syntax is let me see it in my old version. Syntax is like this. Okay, this syntax is like this. Okay, so let's try again. RFC. No, still it's not this. But hold on. Let me look at it again. I missed colon. Like this, I think it was. Yeah, now it's correct. You see, now both this component name have been selected, and I can change them both at the same time. So here I can have output panel. Okay, that's it. Now we have output panel component instead. Well, probably this one we also don't want here. So for this one we can have just TRS panel, and then whatever classes we want to add, we can do it here. But actually in the component itself, we're probably creating it not just for panels, but for something else. So it can return just a div. So this should be fine. And it doesn't have to import this paper and card probably. So usually I also add a lot of code related to connecting Redux here, so that you don't do it every time by hand. But currently I have not connected Redux yet, so just we did it without the Redux. Okay, so output panel we also can add here. Instead of this, we can add here output panel component. Okay, now what? Now this transforms panel component will have to contain some elements, right? Transform elements, which are shown here. So let's first create a transform element. I think we'll just create an empty transform element for now, because I don't want to dig deeper. Normally we would need to think how we want to reuse maybe same component for different element types, or at least reuse parts of this component. With the object-oriented paradigm, we would extend base component, but with functional programming paradigm, I'm not completely sure how you would do this actually. I'm not completely sure. I need to research this. For now, let's just create an empty component. I will just call it transforms element. Transform element. Or okay, it's yes, transform element. Transform element component TSX. Again, we can use our RFC transform element, right? You see how nice this is with snippets. Okay, so this transform element component, we want to style it, and we want to style it I think we want card. This thing which is card, we don't really need it here in main screen component anymore. Card in material UI. So we want this as a one big card, and inside this card we want a drop down. So another element for this drop down. Which we will call, how do we call it here, this drop down? Okay, one empty transform element. It's not saying anything about the drop down. How did I call it? I think, yeah, here I called it somehow. Transform selection drop down. Okay. Transform selection drop down. Transform selection drop down. Okay, let's create a component for this. Transform selection drop down. We'll create a transform selection drop down tsx rfc. Transform selection drop down component. So we will take inspiration for this component from encoding component. We already did pretty much the same thing here. What I don't like, however, is that I'm going to copy these styles. I think it should normally be inside theme. When I find myself copy-pasting code, I feel that I haven't done something correctly, that I did something wrong. So here it definitely looks like some of these things, all these CSSs, should have been in the theme instead. But I'm not sure how to use this with styles, because this with styles function actually returns a function which is called on the element constructor, you see. How this can be provided with a theme to this input base element, I'm not completely sure. I wonder what happens if I don't use this bootstrap input and instead we will use just normal input based. What will happen? I'm just curious. Let's try to do that. Form control, input label. Native select, okay. So this native select has some input property for which we use bootstrap input, but let's say we use directly in name age. What is this age it's coming from? It shouldn't even be named. So encoding, we can name it. This one we can name transform selection. Okay, there are still many things which will not go fine here, I think. Okay, encoding dropdown. Here we'll have a different class, of course, which will be use styles. So these use styles we can definitely call here. This is not an issue, and we can have different classes. I don't think we even need to root margin. Do we need this? I'm not sure. I'm not completely sure we need those. So let's just do this. What dropdown is here? Transform dropdown, transform selection dropdown. Okay. Classes transform selection dropdown, and now we would want to edit inside the transform element. Okay. Yeah, of course. But why? Why is it? Why did you not import it? Okay, now it imported it. And the second time. Okay, it's saying cannot find name classes inside the transform selection dropdown. How is this possible? Here you can see classes here. What are you talking? What are you telling me? Yarn start. Let's restart it. Somehow I feel something is wrong. I wonder why this is happening. I feel like somehow something happened to cards borders. Why would this happen? Okay, they're correctly seen here, but not in Chrome. Okay, in Chrome with correct zoom it's also seen. Okay. So here we have TRS transforms panel. Let's check up.js. Did I create everything correctly there? Oh no, not up.js. Main screen. Did I do everything correctly here? Input component transforms. Okay, that was wrong thing. Where? No, that's not the wrong thing. I did not add a transform element, right? That's why. Transform element component. Yes, I did not add it here. So that's how it looks. It looks awful, of course. So this card needs to be styled properly, first of all. This card needs to be styled properly with this width style. Where do I have this width style? Because I don't remember how I did this. Okay, make styles, use styles. Okay, where are these make styles? Use styles equals make styles, and here you can provide what we want. Say card, no. TRS element. So now we need, so let's say we set here width to 300 pixels. Okay, now we get classes for this using this use styles function, right? And we just apply these classes here. Classes TRS element. Okay, so now card has this. Okay, now we can set also height. Height we can set to like 90%. I think it won't hurt. 90%. What is it's 100%. 100%, and it should have some margin probably. Margin. Where is this theme actually? Make style theme. Okay. What's happening? Styles theme. Maybe we need create styles. Okay. TRS element. What is wrong here? Alright, margin. We need to set some margin. So I wanted to set theme spacing 1. That's why I wanted theme. Line 14, transform element component, line 14. missing something here. Create styles. That's interesting. Should have been just this. Yeah, right. This is because we're not actually opening function with square brackets. If we don't open function with this, I mean curly brackets, if we opened a function with the curly brackets, then what we would have needed to do is to do this. We would need to return, I think, these create styles, and this would be the same thing. But the point is, if you don't open function with curly brackets here, that it will instead consider next evaluation as a return value. So here should be a return value, and if we have a return value here, we can't have this here, we can't have semicolon here. This is why this issue is happening. Okay, let me show. Yeah, okay. I think it can be, this can be smaller, and this transform drop down, this drop down, where is our drop down? And this drop down we can set to max width sets. So I don't think that's a good idea anymore. I think width 100% is a good idea. No, but still not 100%. Does it look like what 100% to you? It doesn't look like 100% to me. Transform selection drop down. So this native select, right? Even if I set it to 300 pixels, I think it will not. No, I think it is. It is actually 100%. I'm just thinking that what the issue is. Oh no, it's not 100%. It's not 100% of what I want it to be. I mean, what's that element? Where is that element? This element is native select 100% of form control. It should take. Okay, anyway, I'll check. I think these styling issues are not the main thing. I think I can check them later. So width 200. Okay, anyway, let's stay like this for now, because it's kinda time now. So first will be none, then we'll have here AES encryption. For now it will be all none AES. Okay, and what in the test, what did we specify in the test? TRS transforms panel, TRS transforms element. I think it shouldn't be like this actually. Transforms element and transform selection drop down. So here we have our element. TRS transforms element. Here we'll have transform selection drop down. Yeah, it should be like this. Let's see if something. Yeah, TRS output panel now is fading. That's because now we have this TRS output panel. Output panel. TRS output panel. Printed output. So this one we can't find. TRS output drop down option value equals none. Yeah, I think value should have been, yeah, none. Let's say, let's try like this. Yeah, now it's succeeding. So now this one we also can find. So now it's checking that we have here our transforms panel output, and this transforms panel contains an empty transforms element. This we made sure. I thought I would be able to style the output panel too, but output panel actually will be more or less the same as input panel. Only functionality will be different, but the look will be the same. There won't be any difference in the look. So output panel actually and input panel we can just pretty much copy paste it, right? Functionality will be different when we get to functional testing. But if we are talking about just how it looks, then it's basically well, this one is showing it too small. Then it basically should be the same. Yeah. Now let me just do the test for 0.3 quickly, which will just be the same as test for 0.1 more or less. For 0.4 I mean. Oops, this 0.3. I should have taken 0.4. Okay, where are the tests for 0.1? For 0.2 I mean. Output panel. Okay, now we have 4 tests which are checking the layout succeeding, right? I shouldn't say encoding here. It should say something else. where is our drop down? Transform selection drop down. Should say here. Transform. Okay, now I'm going to commit and make sure git status. And I'm going to end the stream. Git add src. I'm adding whatever was created today. Then I'm saying what I completed today. Point 3, point 4, points 3 and 4 of the spec. Points 3 and 4 of the spec. Some additional design needed for the element. I need to design it properly for the transform elements. So I will check it later. Okay, now I'm pushing. Now I pushed and can check Travis CI. Okay, today I actually did a little less than I planned. I also wanted to set up React, to set up Redux, to set up Redux state, and show you how this actually works. But I didn't have enough time. I will continue tomorrow. On this setup Redux part, and also I need to add a ticket for properly style transform element. The transform element. Yeah, I need to check how to properly style it, and maybe we all want to use theme to have some common CSS for all dropdowns. And then we'll start working on the functionality. That's probably not tomorrow, but after one day. Okay, this is still building. Now it's going to run. Tests should be running now. Yeah, okay. All our 4 tests, just like they succeed in local, they succeed here. So these tests just check the layout that everything is present, but no functional tests are here yet. But we will add them later. Okay, thank you for watching. Bye. See you tomorrow, same time.